When I think of using a clothesline, I think of a conversation I had when I still lived in the city. While hanging my laundry, my neighbor's little boy poked his head through the fence. "What you doing?" "Hanging up my laundry." "Ain't you got a dryer?" "Oh, we got rid of it." "The sun and the wind dry the clothes really fast, and it's free." "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." Little did that boy know that I was only 2 months into that exact same realization myself. At the time, my husband and I had just decided to move off-grid, and so we had started practicing the skills that we'd need when we finally found our homestead. Now looking back, it's embarrassing to realize how hard it was for me to give up my dryer. But now that I've gone more than 5 years without it, I don't miss it. So if you want to scale down your energy use, save money, get off-grid, start homesteading, or even just spend a little bit more time outside, you've got to start using a clothesline. Let me tell you why. If you have a string, some clothespins, and something stable to tie that string to, you have a clothesline. It's as simple as that. My city clothesline was an inelegant string tied from my back porch to an oak tree. All you need in addition to that line are something to hold the clothes to it. There are many types of clothespins, from the old-fashioned kind that uses friction to hold your clothes down to fancy-looking plastic ones. Each pin type has its pros and cons, but most of it comes down to how you treat them. The wooden ones will rot if they're left outside, and paper wasps will chew on any that are left on the line. Plastic ones will work for a while, but eventually the sun degrades them to the point that they'll just snap apart. So the best that I've found are actually the old-fashioned friction types. You can even sometimes find them in bulk at antique shops. They hold up the longest, and they need to be stored in a bag by necessity once you're done with them for the day, which means that you'll never be tempted to just leave them on the line. Keep that bag in your garage or covered porch and they should give you years of service. Now as far as the line goes, I'm a fan of cotton cord. Mine has been in 2 different states and been tied to numerous surfaces, and it's still somehow going strong. Now when it does break down, I can even compost it. Just know that cotton does stretch over time, so you're going to need to tighten that line every so often. Now trees are convenient for clotheslines, but a tight cord around a tree might girdle it, and the shade offered by its branches will block the sun. Now erecting some sturdy poles in a sunny, treeless place and stringing your line there is the best plan. Our homestead clothesline was designed on the spot by my husband. He recycled old fence posts from our land and made this multi-tiered behemoth that can handily dry 3 loads of normal laundry. It's easy to find plans to build your own though, and you can find tons of innovative DIY builds online for inspiration. Now if you don't have an old fence to recycle and you aren't in a building mood, you of course can buy a clothesline. You can spend as much or as little on a clothesline as you want. Rob and Dia's umbrella-shaped clothesline is a bit pricey but super sturdy and able to handle about 2 loads. If you're feeling creative, you might even get the posts for your clothesline custom designed to make your line an art piece in itself. But if you have to feel like you need to shell out triple digits for a clothesline, I feel like you're totally missing the point. This is a simple thing that anyone can and should afford. Don't overthink it, just enjoy it. Now using the sun's light and heat to dry things is something we've only recently forgotten in modern life. But that free gift is still shining outside, just waiting for you to string up a line and take it up again. Now I want to share some benefits with using a clothesline. Number 1, you'll save energy. The typical dryer uses 3,000 watts in 15 minutes. Obviously, line drying does the same work for nothing. You do the math for how much that money saves your family over the year, and you may wonder why you haven't booted the energy-guzzling dryer out of your house earlier. Number 2, you'll save your clothes. Line drying is also a lot more gentle on clothing. Rather than rasping against each other in machine, felting away months and even years of potential use, even your most delicate clothes are gently dried and will last a lot longer. Number 3, your clothes will be cleaner. People have known for centuries about the sanitizing power of the sun, even if they couldn't explain the exact science of it. Now as someone who has done my fair share of washing cloth diapers, I can personally attest to the power of UV sanitation. I'll spare you the details, but unspeakable stains, when dried in direct Ozark sunlight, can fade to almost nothing. Number 4, yes, you can do it year-round. You can line dry year-round in most areas. The biggest thing you need to be aware of in the winter is the humidity. Even if it's cold, if the humidity is low, your clothes will dry. If it's a dry, sunny day, you might find that your clothes dry just as fast as they do in the summer. Now to help clothes along in the winter, flip the side that's in the shadow towards the sun halfway through drying. Now they might feel frozen stiff by the time they're done, but as soon as they warm up, they loosen up too. And honestly, if all else fails, a line strung above the wood stove does a good job as well. Number 5, your clothes smell great. Line-dried clothing is just an amazing smelling thing. There's a reason they sell fresh cotton and breeze scented dryer sheets. So those artificial chemicals pale in comparison to the life-giving aroma of a face full of clean, airy towels. Finally, there's just something both incredibly enjoyable and therapeutic about hanging laundry to dry. With the blue sky overhead, bird song carried in the gentle wind that buffets your back, and that fresh breeze just waiting to infuse your pillowcase, line drying is something I look forward to every other day. I love that I now get to be outside rather than trapped in a basement laundry dungeon. Of course, there are some disadvantages to using a clothesline. The disadvantages are minimal compared to the benefits in my perspective, but there are some things to take into account. Number one, the weather. The first challenge, of course, is the weather. Unless you have some sort of covered space, rainy days are no laundry days. Additionally, timing your laundry is also important. If you hang clothes in the morning, but find that you can't take them down till evening, sometimes that changing humidity will make your clothes feel damp all over again. I find that the best time to harvest laundry during the summer is 2 p.m. and no later than 6 p.m. If you do find that your clothes are damp again, you can leave them overnight and retrieve them once the morning has warmed and dried the air. Another option, if it's not going to rain overnight, is to hang clothes in the evening and then take them down once the morning has warmed. Number two, it does take longer to haul in the laundry. You need time to take your clothes inside and outside. With small children, this might take a bit of orchestration. Sometimes you might spend as much time getting everybody set as you actually do hanging and taking down the wash. Number three, bugs and birds. Well, kinda. I know that some folks might fear that birds will poop on their clothes and that they'll be crawling with insects. Now, in all my years of line drying, I've had exactly 2 bird droppings hit my clothes. So as long as you don't put your laundry beneath a fruit tree, there's really nothing to worry about. And as for insects, you might find a confused moth or lost ant every now and again, but as long as you give the clothes a good snap before you put them back into your laundry basket, the hitchhiker load will be a non-problem. Some folks are ready to throw in the towel when it comes to line drying, though, fearing a tick in their bed sheets. I can assure you, as a resident of a backwoods area crawling with ticks, I've never found ticks in my line dried clothes. And even if I did, it wouldn't be a big deal. Just flick it off like you would any other bug and you're good to go. If you're still somehow worried, just make sure that the grass under your clothesline is trimmed regularly. Ticks far prefer being in tall grass than in your sun-dried towels. Number 4, your clothes might be crunchy. If you are accustomed to tumble-dried clothing, there is a small hurdle to get over. Though wind-dried laundry almost feels exactly the same as those put through a dryer, you might have a slightly crunchy texture to your clothes if you've left them out to dry on a very still day. That feeling disappears as soon as you put the clothes on. Honestly, it's just part of the suck it up buttercup part of line drying. After a month, you shouldn't even notice. Number 5, your HOA might not let it fly. The biggest issue you might face with clotheslines is human in origin. Clotheslines for many communities symbolize a less affluent time. Your neighbors might believe it looks unsightly. Passerbys get offended by the sight of underwear flapping in the breeze. So many homeowners associations have restrictions against clotheslines. Reasons for these restrictions vary, ranging from claiming they're unsightly, that they take down property values, or that they're somehow a strangulation danger for children. For the record, I researched how many children have been strangled by clothesline accidents, and I was able to find 2. I found far more higher numbers of children killed by bicycle helmets, for the record, so I don't think that that's a real problem. But thankfully, there is a movement in several states that gives you the so-called right to dry. If you live in Florida, Colorado, Hawaii, Maine, Maryland, Vermont, Oregon, or California, state law overrides any regulation imposed by an HOA, condo, or apartment community. If you live in Indiana, Texas, New Mexico, Utah, Illinois, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Nevada, Louisiana, Virginia, Arizona, or North Carolina, you do have the right to dry, but it does not override a contract. If you live in any of the states I haven't mentioned, you might not have any legal backup if you encounter community backlash over your clothesline. Now, to ensure safety for children, make sure your clothesline is high and taut, and teach children not to play with the hanging laundry in the first place. That's a bad idea. Now, whether you decide to opt for a little civil disobedience, petition to change your community's restrictions, or decide to move to a more rural area where nobody's up in your business, that's up to you. Now, I could compose sonnets to my love of line drying, and I'm not embarrassed about that. Giving up on my dryer was one of the first choices I made on my journey to become a self-sufficient off-grid homesteader. In exchange for that energy-sucking clothes shredding dependency-fostering machine, I got blue skies, shirts that smell like the freshest of summer days, and a whole lot more appreciation for the small joys in life. Why miss out on that?